Hi there. I'm just going to give a few minutes to see if some more people come on live to our Relax Kids page. So it would be lovely to see, little names and things popping up there. So I'll just keep my eyes peeled for anyone coming on live. I don't want to feel like I'm talking to the screen and nobody's there to listen. So I'll just keep a wee eye on it. I can see a little love heart popping up, so someone's there. That's fabulous. Oh, and we've got Amy on. Hello, Amy. Lovely to see you. Hope you're all safe there. And here we have Marnetta, our lovely leader. She's coming on as well. So hopefully we'll get a few more wee faces popping up there. Maybe some love hearts, We'll see how it goes. Might send me a couple of love hearts. Oh, definitely love hearts. Love it. Makes me feel loved. Okay, so just try to see what the time is. Probably just give a couple of minutes. And then what's going to happen is obviously I'll be live on the screen, and we did hope that when Relax Kids said they would interview lots of trainers and coaches. I've seen lots of the videos. They've been awesome. And oh no, Marnetta, it's the Scottish sun. We've had lots of Scottish sun here. So I've picked up a wee bit of a tan. That's great. Maybe a bit of makeup as well, Yeah, so Marnetta wanted us to come on live and, but Facebook change around with their settings all the time. So we can't do live with two of us on the screen, but hey, we'll manage. And Marnetta will post questions through the feed and I'll, do my best to answer them. I know Marnetta, Scottish sun, it's a surprise, isn't it? We had quite a wee bit of sun there. Kind of disappeared again now, but around our spring break there was quite a few nice days, and being that, for good or bad, I've not been in classrooms, and I would normally have missed the Scottish sun by the time you come out in the evening. I was able to do some of my work, sitting in the garden, maybe on the balcony. I've got a little balcony, and I brought my laptop out and managed to catch a few rays. And during spring break, as I say, when I was doing my daily walk, I'd catch a bit of sun. So let's see, that is 3 minutes past. Give people another minute or so. Is that all right with you, Marnetta? Give them a wee minute or so to come on. It is great that obviously, during lockdown and stuff like that, that Marnetta has opened up the page and loads of people that we've been able to keep in contact with each other. I think that's amazing. That people have been able to keep in contact, because obviously I'd love to see everyone in real life, but this is the next best thing, and it's great that we can all keep in touch. So Marnetta is going to ask some questions there. So here's the first one up. So just for me to introduce myself and a little bit about my life and my career before I did Relax Kids, and it can be a bit jumbled, but I am a teacher and I have been for sort of 20 years, and I became a deputy head, a school leader for different schools and services, and that's what I did for a long time. I first used Relax Kids resources in my classroom. Didn't know about Relax Kids training or Relax Kids franchises or any of these sort of things, but I knew the books and the CDs, and I knew with the children I worked with, I wanted to make a difference, and knew there must be different ways to work through education, and I used to use them in my classroom as a teacher, and do relaxations at the end of the day, or maybe after break, or do well-being lessons. So the 20 years I did that, and just recently I gave up teaching and stepped out of teaching, and used my well-being and my Relax Kids and other trainings that I'd had as a mindfulness coach to be self-employed as a Relax Kids coach. So that's what I did. But I have gone back. I went back part-time as a deputy head, so I'm kind of mixing and matching it just now. As part of being a well-being coach, which my Relax Kids totally comes into that, and I do some mindfulness as well with children and help staff develop themselves. So I take that forward in my work and in my life, because that's the way I want to live. I want to live by my values, so therefore I've made relaxation and mindfulness all part of my life, which can be tricky when you're in school, because you've got a different role to hold. When you're in school, you're a deputy head, and you've got a million other jobs thrown at you, and sometimes that weakens the fact that the wellbeing work maybe falls by the wayside, which is why I've decided not to be a deputy head, but to focus more on this. So hopefully that's answer to that question, Marnetta, that took me up to where I am now, where I'm half deputy head and half a coach. Hi Sarah, nice to see you. I want more faces and more love hearts coming through the screen, so if you could arrange that, that would be lovely. Who have we got here? So, yep. So we'll see if anyone else comes through with any questions there. I know Marnetta had a few lined up. So trying to think what we were chatting about next. I was just talking about the Scottish sun, Sarah. Don't know if you guys had sun down your end. Marnetta thought I had a bit of a tan with my Scottish sun. So I think Marnetta sent me a couple of questions, so I could just move on with one of those. Maybe there's a wee hold up in them coming through the feed there. Sometimes that happens. Technology, lovely when it works, not so lovely when it doesn't. Well, I kind of moved on to that because, you know, as I said, my career, I used I went on the Relaxed Kids training, saw the Relaxed Kids training quite close to my home in Edinburgh. I live in Midlothian and near Edinburgh. Saw the Midlothian training out there in Edinburgh and thought, right, well, I'll sign up for that because the resources had put that into my head many years before in my career. Went and did the training with our lovely Emma, who's our Scottish trainer, 4 or 5 years ago. I was thinking today, how long is it since I did the training? And I met some amazing Scottish coaches and some fantastic, a community of Scottish coaches. They weren't all from Scotland, because some people travelled for the training, but it was great to sort of meet some Scottish coaches and some like-minded people. Sometimes it's a struggle to find like-minded people. It's getting more and more likely to find mindfulness and relaxation is out there, but I decided to, and it was great that I found some like-minded people, and I still keep in contact with them. I love the Scottish community of coaches that we sort of all link together. Obviously I've got a much more extended community of coaches, and that's brilliant, but we do have a little Scottish community here that is great. Okay, so we do have another question, Relaxed Kids question coming through. Why do you love teaching relaxation and emotional well-being to children and young people? Well, as a teacher, I've always worked with children, teenagers, across my career, and I just seem to happenstance to come across children and always be working with children who displayed big emotions. Some of you might, understand that as these emotions come out as behaviours that sometimes, people are not, they're not healthy for the children, they're maybe not healthy for the people around about them, but they're big emotions. And I used to always think, well, I need to search for ways to support these children, and that got me curious as there must be different ways to do this, and that's when I embarked on lots of training. And as I say, Relaxed Kids training being a huge part of that. I've done all the little things that are done within Relaxed Kids are amazing little things in their own right. We do our breathing, we do relaxing, we do use Marnetta's lovely CDs, but the Relaxed Kids training really helped me join all the dots together and think, so that is a way to join it all together into a cohesive kind of lesson. And that related to me as a teacher, because I thought, this is quite cohesive, this has got a programme, this can lead us through, and the children, I'll teach and the children will learn. That's how it related to me. So next question we've got here, I mentioned my values. Yes, I did. My main values are, to be authentic and live by my own values. So therefore I model, I practice what I preach. I model mindfulness, I model relaxation, I model self-control, I model self-regulation, and therefore I can teach children in that way as well, not just by discreetly teaching them, but also just by modelling the way I am. So I carry that through my life and work. So we've got another one there. Sorry, the screen's a wee bit small. I should wear my glasses. Do you have a favourite age group to teach? do you know this? I don't really. As a teacher, I've taught really our primary ones, as we call them, you know, our sort of 5-year-olds as they're coming into school. And I've also taught kids leaving school at the other end, our school leavers, you know, at 16, 17, 18 years old. And I don't really have a preference. Sometimes I think I like the spark of the teenagers and the effervescence that they bring to it, a little bit of back chat, you know, and that spark that they bring to it. And then sometimes I think the little ones are so curious and so open and so receptive. So not really. What I've gone for is the fact I teach anyone with emotions, and I think, well, that can be any age because we all have emotions. So, you know, I've zigged about. So I don't really have a favourite age group as such. I just like people. Okay, why do you feel emotional well-being needs to be at the top of the agenda? Well, for me, emotional well-being has always been at the top of my agenda, because I know kids need skills for life, skills for learning, skills for work, and you know, a bit of a mantra in education. So if they need skills for life, they need to learn how to navigate life, and therefore I need to give them some skills to do that. So it's always been at the top of my agenda. I get that it needs to head to the top of the government agenda, in schools' agendas. As I mentioned earlier, there can be barriers to it being top of the school agenda, and I know that from being a deputy head. There's a million other things thrown at you, and sometimes it can go by the wayside, which is why it sort of clashed with some of my values, that I feel it really needs to be at the top of my agenda. But I'm not going to wait about for anyone to do it. I have to be in control of what I do every day. So, you know, I will put emotional well-being in front and centre at my own agenda. Some of these questions are going up really fast. Let me think. What do you think children and young people need most at this time? I know we've got a lot going on just now. We've got a global pandemic, so therefore there's this sort of emotional leakage going around the world that, you know, can fizz us all up a little bit, and it's a fact. It's logical. It's true. What I think kids needed pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID is the skills to navigate that. I've always been an advocate of teaching kids skills to navigate adversity, whatever that adversity is. It could be anything from, you know, their hamster dying to, you know, a pandemic. But it's giving them the skills so that they have a route map through and they know how to navigate adversity. Right now, the current adversity is COVID-19 and their schooling and not seeing their friends. They've got these adversities. And I totally believe they need anchors in their life. Their brains are all over the place just now. They're dislodged because everything's uncomfortable and everything's strange, and we can't control it, and our brains like to be in control. So therefore, I ask them, I think parents, families need to find some things they can control and anchor themselves down to. So that's kind of what they need right now. Familiar things to anchor themselves onto and control the controllables, instead of trying to navigate uncontrollables, because that's just going to upset our brains a wee bit more. And that's parents and children. That's human beings. Okay, so next question I can see on the screen here. What response have you received from children, parents and teachers that you teach? As I say, I run community classes. I do one-to-one coaching with children, and also when I was self-employed, I can go into schools. While I'm teaching in schools, I can do little groups and classes and things like that. But as a deputy head, that's difficult because you've got much more strategic things to be leading. So my community classes are well received in the community. People keep coming back. Kids keep coming back lots and lots of times. Some kids come for a short period of time. Always get lovely testimonials and things like that. And I think people, children and parents, are appreciative of someone's talking about emotions, feelings, navigating the brain, the kid's brain, the teenage brain, and putting it out there, putting it out that it's a real valid thing to go to, and it can be just as valid to go along to relaxed kids classes or whatever, as it is to go to karate, as it is to go to dancing. We're normalising it, and I think the parents really appreciate that. Do I teach adults? As a deputy head and in part of my self-employed role, I worked as a consultant and went in and trained lots of staff, not specifically on relaxed kids, but obviously it comes into it because it weaves its way through lots of things that we do. I talk about the children's brain, I talk about the teenage brain, I have for many years. So yeah, but I would train adults and it's amazing. I love training adults because you see that eureka moment. You've also got the ones with very closed minds, and sometimes I think, well, that's going to be a bit harder work, but it's kind of up to them when they absorb it. And then I've got the middle ground of people who are, oh, you see their minds opening and expanding and thinking, this kind of makes sense. I talk about gentle and positive discipline and working with kids' emotions, and I think people appreciate that because it's just a common sense kind of approach. So I teach adults in that sense, haven't done relaxed kids with them. Parents often come along to children's classes, maybe at the end of a block, and join in so that they get the whole flow of it as well, so they can carry those skills home. Okay, I love the idea of helping young people to anchor themselves. Do you have a quick anchoring tip or technique? Well, I think all the mindfulness techniques and things like grounding techniques can be quite anchoring for them, because that makes them think about, you know, being grounded. However, the anchoring techniques I've been talking to parents about recently is the fact that normal things that go on in your household. It was great around here in our community that kids were putting on their school clothes because that felt normal to them, even though they weren't going to school. To me, that was an anchor. Mums were doing amazing things with kids and cooking amazing teas and taking them on amazing trips and making amazing breakfasts for them and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, well, and I've told a lot of parents this, and I goes, look, and I just said it in an earlier session that I was on today, and I was like, if you have pizza on a Wednesday night, still have pizza on a Wednesday night, because that's normal for your children and they don't have to navigate it. They just eat it. They don't have to look for special clothes in the morning because we're homeschooling. You put your normal clothes on, so they don't have to navigate different clothes. And then you've got enough energy left over to navigate some of the more tricky things. So I was just talking about transferring those things to their real life and finding anchors in their home, particularly as they can't come to classes just now. It's looking for transferring the skills to their own homes. Okay, so what have we got? The children you teach are so lucky. Thank you, Marnetta. I try to be an inspiration to them, but I actually believe everything's inside them anyway, and it's just up to us to sort of draw it out. What do I do to relax? I normally, when we're not on lockdown, I like yoga and Pilates. I have to say I'm not particularly great at them, but I love going along to them. I also like doing lots of crafting work, and I take that into all my Relaxed Kids classes as well, and all my mindfulness classes. We're always creating things at the end, whether it be something to help us breathe or a signifier for them to take home to remind them of the things that we've learned in class that day, because I truly believe it's about it going home, not about what they learned in the hour with me, but about what they take home with them. So I always make signifiers, so I do that to relax. I like lying on the balcony in the sun, if there is Scottish sun. I do like that too. My big thing when we're not in lockdown is going away in my motorhome. I have a motorhome, and myself and my husband drive to different places in Scotland, and that's amazing. Okay, so those are the kind of things I do to relax. Okay, talking about the importance of growth mindset for children. There's been loads of research over the years on growth mindset, and I do like the idea of it. I've found as a teacher that growth mindset can often be applied to things like literacy and numeracy, and if you exercise your brain it will get better, and keep trying, and I can't do it yet, and lots of key phrases around it. I've always liked to apply it to the fact that we need to develop skills, knowledge and experiences around well-being, and therefore we need to keep trying, just like learning to read, just like learning to do our sums. We need to learn how to deal with our emotions, how to use healthy strategies, how to use like the breathing and relaxing and massaging, and that we can develop these skills so that then we have the power. We are empowered to work with our own emotions. So that's how I always believe that growth mindset is such an important thing. I would never want a child to think I have a fixed mindset and put themselves in that really small bubble and say, well, I can't do it. And that kind of language goes with it. And it's always like, well, I'm going to keep trying. I can't do it yet. And I need some more skills to do that, or create a bridge to get to the successful place, which is whether that be a person to help them or to practice something more and more. which is just natural teacher speak, really. But I think lots of relaxed kids coaches, I hear them talking about it, and I think it's amazing that we are now applying that growth mindset concepts to well-being, not just literacy and numeracy. So that's probably all I've got to say about growth mindset there, but there's loads of great research out there. I think it's an amazing thing. Okay, why are you doing what you do? What is your passion and your drive? So I'm doing this because I truly believe in it. It's as I say, I've worked in schools where that it wasn't uppermost in everyone's mind, and that's when I kind of know, and when I'm in schools and I think this isn't the place for me, because I'm curious and creative about how children learn and how children can develop. So, you know, that really drives me, because I feel like it's our job as the adults in the world to sort of scatter those seeds and normalise this and make this part of everyday life, that children have a right to make mistakes as well, and that's why we get emotional outbursts that are not pretty and not nice, and we see that as that moment, a teachable moment. I think this is my moment to step in. I'm the grown-up. I can teach this child that wasn't great. This is a different way to do it, and it's my job to give them different ways to do it. So that fills me with joy when I see that happening. So that keeps me going when I see people doing it. And that's not just children, adults too. I work with a lot of parents and things as well, and it's great to see them change because they've been indoctrinated. There's been a story around them, a narrative around them, that this is the way you raise your child, or this is the way we deal with big emotions, and we can teach adults different ways. So we feel like we're not only making a difference to the adults, but we're going to make a difference to the next generation. My big dream for my career and work. Well, as I say, I trained as a relaxed kids coach 5 years ago. Previous to that, I trained as a mindfulness coach. And then more recently, I've become a transformational life coach. So I'm kind of joining all that together to just be a coach, you know, to coach people to the next chapter in their life, the next story in their life. Beyond that as well, I would really love to write some of this stuff down, because actually it makes my head really heavy to keep it all in here. So that's the truth. I want to write it all down because I feel like people need to read some of this as well, because to reach a wider audience, I feel like I need to reach a wider audience, and that would be one way of doing it, to write all this down, because I think people need to know this. Okay, we've got another question popping through here. If you had a magic wand for every family, what would you ask it to do? I don't feel like, and it seems strange, so, you know, bear with me, I wouldn't want to give any family a magic wand. Because I think it's the journeys that are full of these teachable moments, as I said earlier, making the mistakes, recognising your successes, and therefore those are the ones that make you who you are. So if I was to give them a magic wand, I would be taking away some of those experiences. I suppose if I had to give them a magic wand, if Marinetta was going to push me to give them all a magic wand, it would have to be the ability to be curious and reflect on their journey, to notice it along the way. But I wouldn't want to take anyone's journey away, because that's what's needed so that we can learn to live with adversities, so we can navigate the adversities and be really skilled in using healthy ways to deal with our emotions, instead of, you know, not having those feelings and emotions, because who would we be then? They are what make us. Okay, who would you like to invite to dinner and talk to them about the benefits of children's well-being and mental health? We'll have to say my friends and family and colleagues probably say anytime I invite them to dinner, I talk about the benefits of children's well-being and mental health. So some don't come for dinner anymore, because it is my passion and it is what I talk about endlessly. And but if, you know, again, inviting people to dinner, it would probably be, I really love the Scottish curriculum, and it's been written really quite well. A few years ago, the Curriculum for Excellence has a big fat section on health and well-being. It just sometimes, as I've said before, it gets pushed by the wayside, and I think talking to the likes of Nicola Sturgeon, our First Minister, and John Swinney, you know, our ministers there for education, and talking to them and saying, how do we get this matched up? Because things like Relaxed Kids are an amazing tool to teach that curriculum and match it all together. so that this became normal. This became every day. This was normalised within our school settings, instead of just being that kind of wee add-on at the side sometimes. And some places do an amazing job, others not so much, and I'm not blaming anyone. It's not that kind of culture I want to create, but it's like, how do we make it happen despite all the constraints on education's time? So that's who I would invite, because I think that would be a reality that I could invite them and get something done, because I like outcomes and I'm an action taker, and I think that could happen. I could ask some other people to dinner that I just wanted to sit with and chat with, who were, you know, maybe much more gorgeous and handsome to look at than Nicola Sturgeon and John Swinney, but that wouldn't help. Okay, to sum up, relaxed kids in 3 words for me. I mentioned before, I think it's, you know, community. We need to find like-minded people. We need to normalise things. We need to find our critical mass. That's how things change. And I think we, as a Scottish group, and wider as, you know, a bigger relaxed kids coaches group, we create a critical mass, and then we can affect change. It's fun. As a teacher, you know, there's lots of serious learning in our relaxed kids classes and mindfulness classes and lots of coaching things, but making it fun allows the kids' brains to absorb it. And I think it also makes the kids' brains feel safe, because it's packaged quite neatly that there is a sequence of events here, and I think children like to feel safe, because then they don't have to navigate it again. They just know what's going to happen. There's going to be the sequence. We follow the flags, or we follow a sequence. It's just like a lesson. So therefore they feel safe. So community, fun and safe. Okay, so there we are. That's the end. There are no more questions, unless there are loads of people on live who are dying to ask a question and throw it up on the screen now. But we've been on for about half an hour, so that's pretty good. I think we got through a lot, Marnetta. Thank you very much. I often have a slightly different perspective on some things, but hey ho, that's just who I am, and people can take me or they can leave me. That part is up to them. I see a wee love heart there from Amy. Thank you, Amy. I'm glad you came along tonight. And thank you, Sarah, for having me on the group. I shall go now and have a big cup of tea. My throat's very dry. All that rambling. Thanks, guys. Okay. Thank you, Marnetta. Hope lots of people watch live. I'll pop on later and ask any other questions.